Originally he spoke in Spanish because he spoke 7 languages. And he says, your father so-and-so, you lived in Durango, Mexico. Then why do you ask me? If you know everything, I want to confirm it. He said, you know the Schrader family, the German family that owned the hardware store in Durango. You went hiking with them. I began to get into my thoughts, and I said, oh my God. They got me hooked. The Schrader family turned out to be spy Germans in Durango. He says, you spied on 2 employees of your father's. No, I didn't. And he slapped my face, and hit me. Yes, you know, pendejo. He kept on all this interrogation. Before you knew it, he had needles tucked in my hands, my fingers. Poked needles into my fingernails, trying to get stories out of me. I don't know shit from Shinola. What's that? You try, you know better than I do. Boom, he hit me again. Then I tell him, so you know your ass from a hole in the ground. What's that? Your butt rubbing the ground with your ass. These were proverbs that we had developed in the army. All interrogation was what we went through. So finally he let me go back, but my hands were bleeding. And so 2 days later, I was we were called out to stand outside and the commander called out that all Jews with the name Jewish, they look like a Jew, their nose looked like a Jew, and every details related to a Jew, stay 2 feet forward. They wound up having about 85. They wanted 350. I don't know why, but why they selected 350, but that's how it was going. And then the commander came and poked at me and he says, I want you as part of the group. The Germans wanted to annihilate the Jewish. We were selected to get out of that camp, and they got onto a truck, and they took us to a railroad station, and 350 of us put into the boxcars like cattle, standing up. You couldn't budge, you couldn't kneel down to urinate or go to poops. and until we got to Berga, which was 3 days and 3 nights on the train without food or water. Bador was a camp that was composed of what you call, they dressed in prison camp clothing as political prisoners. They were called political prisoners. And I had a wristwatch, reloj haste, made in Mexico. And the guy looked at it and said, "I'll give you 4 loaves of bread." I gave him the watch, and he gave me the 4 loaves of bread. And I distributed them to my fellows. I stuck to 1 loaf of bread, and they gobbled it up. I used my loaf of bread as a pillow. Lord, behold, overnight, that loaf of bread disappeared. They picked on it and ate it. That was memories. The fellas just ate it totally. We didn't know where we were going or where they were sending us to. Suddenly, when the train moved and we were rolling along, then we'd be hear dogfights in the air. Our planes shooting down German planes, and then our planes coming down and strafing the boxcars. There were boxcars with other troops that were hit. And we were thanking God that it wouldn't hit us at all. Finally, we came to a dead end where they took us off the bus car. And we got into a march from that railroad station. And we came to a little town. They call it part of Buchenwald. But Buchenwald was a part of where the political prisoners were, where the Germans would torture the political prisoners by putting the hoses in their mouths and filling up with air or steam. And then they would burn them to death and put them into jars. I took a record and I wrote down a diary that I was able to accomplish the booklet from a Red Cross package. That Red Cross package had a book where I used it to write down I decided to do that, to keep a record without the German knowing that I was writing down what they were going through. I registered their names and their serial number to identify them. As much as I had as a medic. There were only about 6 medics of us. I was but the only one who had that paper record. I decided that I would donate my diary to the Holocaust Museum in Washington, due to the fact that that would be the best place to remember really what happened to our men. The only thing we got was boiled water with herbs cooked into it. Or sometimes rat or cat meat mixed into the water, boiled, and they give us that to eat. They wouldn't peel it. The hairs and everything would be in there. We went on a death march, and one of the fellas broke away from the march and saw a tree off the road and decided to go get that. It was an apple. He got the apple, and the guard told him, "Why did you steal that apple? You're in German territory." "I'm hungry." Boom, sorry. He killed him right there. Just because he got the apple to eat. When we get the slices of loaf of bread in the camp, it was they call it the Bavarian loaf of bread. It was whole wheat, very dark. And that bread was made of barley mixed with sawdust of the tree, the bark of the tree, converted to sawdust, redwood, and ground glass and ground sand. They gave us that slices of bread at odd times. Why? We never knew. We never knew that it was that until later when we were liberated. Mertz and Metz, the commanders, wanted us to follow them. But this served as a shield to protect them from being shot by the Americans. The tanks, you could hear the tanks in the distance, and the rolling that were coming in. Soon before you knew it, there were two of our men were dying. They couldn't make it anymore. They took off, the commanders, and we started to get up as much as we could, our men, and headed out to the road, and our tanks were rolling in, liberating us. First they thought that we were Germans. They were about ready to shoot us when we ran in towards them. So finally they found out that it was us and liberated us on April the 23rd. 45. 132 I weighed normally, and when I was liberated I weighed 48 pounds. And then when we were interrogated by our Americans we were ready to leave Europe to come to the United States, we had to sign an affidavit. We were not to open our mouths ever to say that we were in Berga or they were sent to a slave camp.